They don't always raise their voice. They don't always threaten. Most of the time, they smile. They sit quietly. They listen carefully. And while you think you're in control, they are already pulling the strings. What makes manipulators dangerous isn't their strength. It's their strategy. They use words like weapons. They twist emotions like wires. They push buttons you didn't even know existed. And the worst part? Arguing with them rarely works. Explaining yourself only gives them more material. Defending yourself makes them stronger. That's why the most powerful way to defeat a manipulator is not through confrontation. It's through silence, awareness, and control. In this video, you're going to learn 5 powerful ways to outsmart manipulators without saying a word. No fights. No arguments. No explanations. Just calm, strategic dominance. By the end of this video, you'll see manipulation clearly, feel emotionally untouchable, and move through situations with quiet authority that manipulators cannot handle. Let's begin. The first powerful way to outsmart manipulators without saying a word is mastering emotional neutrality. Manipulators feed on emotional reactions. Anger, guilt, fear, excitement, confusion. Every emotion you show is information. And information is power. When a manipulator sees you react emotionally, they learn exactly where to push next. They study your tone, your facial expression, your posture, your hesitation. They don't need your words. Your emotions tell them everything. That's why emotional neutrality shuts them down immediately. Emotional neutrality means you become unreadable. Your face stays calm. Your body stays relaxed. Your energy stays steady. You don't rush to respond. You don't explain. You don't justify. You listen. You pause. You let silence do the work. This confuses manipulators because they expect resistance or compliance. They expect emotion. They expect movement. But when you give them nothing, their tactics collapse. They may escalate. They may provoke. They may guilt trip. And still, you remain calm. This doesn't mean you agree. It means you don't give them emotional access. The moment a manipulator realizes they cannot affect your emotional state, they begin to lose control. Silence becomes pressure. Calm becomes dominance. The second powerful way to outsmart manipulators without saying a word is slowing everything down. Manipulators rely on speed. They rush conversations. They create urgency. They force decisions. They want you to react before you think. When you slow down, you regain power. You take longer to respond. You don't answer immediately. You don't rush to fix the tension. This forces the manipulator to reveal themselves. They start talking more. They over-explain. They contradict themselves. And the more they talk, the more control you gain. Silence creates discomfort for manipulators because they rely on momentum. When momentum stops, their strategy collapses. By slowing down, you move the interaction onto your terms. You let them fill the space. You let them expose their intentions. And suddenly, the one who was trying to control the situation feels off balance. The third powerful way to outsmart manipulators without saying a word is controlling your boundaries through behavior, not explanation. Manipulators love explanations. They thrive on reasons. They exploit justifications. The moment you explain your boundary, they search for loopholes. That's why your strongest boundaries are silent ones. You don't announce them. You enforce them. If someone disrespects your time, you become less available. If someone crosses a line, you remove access. If someone tries to control you, you disengage. No speeches. No warnings. No emotional confrontations. Your behavior becomes the message. Manipulators hate this because they can't argue with actions. They can twist words, but they can't twist consistent behavior. When your actions are firm and predictable, manipulation fails. The fourth powerful way to outsmart manipulators without saying a word is refusing to play the emotional game. Manipulators often use guilt, pity, or intimidation to gain control. They want you to feel responsible for their emotions. They want you to feel bad for saying no. They want you to feel afraid of consequences. When you refuse to engage emotionally, their tactics lose power. You don't react to guilt. You don't absorb blame. You don't chase approval. You let their emotions remain theirs. This creates a psychological wall that manipulators cannot cross. They may accuse you of being cold. They may call you selfish. They may try to provoke a reaction. And still, you remain steady. Because emotional independence is freedom. The fifth powerful way to outsmart manipulators without saying a word is becoming unpredictable in the right way. Manipulators rely on patterns. They study your habits. They anticipate your responses. When you break patterns calmly, you disrupt their strategy. You change routines. You adjust availability. You respond differently than expected. Not emotionally. Strategically. This keeps manipulators off balance. They can't plan. They can't control. They can't predict. And unpredictability removes their advantage. Now here's something most people don't realize. Manipulators are not confident people. They are insecure strategists. There's a moment when a manipulator realizes something has changed. They notice you're no longer reacting the way you used to. They feel the loss of control, even if they can't explain it. And that moment makes them uncomfortable. Because manipulation only works when the other person is unaware. Once you see the pattern, the game is over. One of the most overlooked truths about manipulators is that they depend on emotional predictability. They need you to behave the same way every time. They need you to defend yourself. They need you to seek approval. They need you to feel responsible. When you stop doing those things, they feel exposed. This is why silence is so powerful. Silence forces manipulators to sit with their own intentions. And most of them can't handle that. They will try to provoke you. They will test your patience. They will push boundaries to see if the old version of you is still there. But when you remain composed, something interesting happens. They start doubting themselves. They wonder if you know more than you're saying. They worry about losing influence. They feel the pressure they once applied to others. This is psychological reversal. Now let's go deeper. Another powerful layer of outsmarting manipulators without saying a word is mastering selective attention. Manipulators crave attention. Positive or negative, it doesn't matter. Attention validates their control. When you limit your attention intentionally, you weaken their influence. You stop reacting to subtle jabs. You don't acknowledge passive-aggressive behavior. You don't reward emotional bait. You respond only to what deserves a response. This trains people how to treat you. And manipulators hate being ignored because it removes their leverage. Attention is currency. Spend it wisely. There's also something incredibly powerful about posture and presence. Manipulators read body language better than most people. They notice tension. They notice discomfort. They notice hesitation. When your posture is relaxed, open, and grounded, it sends a silent message. You are not intimidated. You are not rushed. You are not easily influenced. This alone can stop manipulation before it begins. Confidence without aggression is one of the strongest psychological shields you can develop. Now here's a critical insight most people miss. Manipulators often mirror vulnerability to gain trust. They share personal stories. They appear understanding. They act supportive. But notice something. True vulnerability builds connection. Manipulative vulnerability builds obligation. If you ever feel pressured after someone opens up, that's a signal. The moment you stop responding with emotional labor, the dynamic changes. You don't rush to comfort. You don't take responsibility for fixing their feelings. You remain present, but detached. This balance is powerful. Another silent tactic is strategic withdrawal. You don't need to cut people off dramatically. You don't need to announce distance. You simply reduce access. Less availability. Shorter interactions. More space. Manipulators notice this immediately. They feel the loss of influence and try to pull you back in. And that's when you know your silence is working. One of the most dangerous traps manipulators use is the illusion of choice. They frame situations so that every option benefits them. When you don't respond immediately, you break that illusion. Time restores clarity. Pausing is power. Now let's talk about internal control. Because the strongest defense against manipulation happens inside you. When you stop seeking validation, manipulators lose leverage. When you stop needing approval, manipulation becomes ineffective. When your self-worth is internal, no one can shake it. This is why manipulators target people who doubt themselves. Confidence isn't loud. It's grounded. And grounded people are difficult to manipulate. Here's another truth. Manipulators often project their intentions onto others. They accuse you of what they're doing. They shift blame. They rewrite narratives. Silence prevents this tactic from escalating. You don't argue facts. You don't correct distortions. You don't defend your character. You let actions speak over time. Consistency always exposes manipulation. And patience always wins. As you grow into this level of awareness, something changes in your life. Your relationships become cleaner. Your energy feels protected. Your decisions feel clearer. You no longer feel drained after conversations. You no longer replay interactions in your mind. You no longer feel guilty for choosing peace. And that's when you realize something important. Outsmarting manipulators isn't about beating them. It's about becoming unreachable. When you master emotional control, silence, boundaries, and awareness, manipulation loses its grip. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't need validation. Your calm is enough. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to like this video so more people can break free from manipulation. Subscribe if you want more content on psychology, power dynamics, self-respect, and inner strength. And remember this. The most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest. It's the one who sees clearly, speaks less, and cannot be controlled. Stay aware. Stay grounded. And protect your peace. They manipulate because they don't believe they can get what they want honestly. The moment they sense that you are aware, calm, and emotionally independent, they lose interest. They look for easier targets. People who react. People who explain too much. People who feel guilty easily. When you master these 5 silent strategies, you become invisible to manipulation. You don't fight. You don't confront. You don't expose. You simply rise above. And silence becomes your greatest weapon. If this video helped you see manipulation differently, make sure you like it because it helps this message reach people who need it. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful insights on psychology, self-mastery, and quiet strength. And remember this: the strongest people don't argue. They don't explain. They don't prove. They observe. They choose. And they walk away in silence. Stay sharp. Stay calm. And stay in control.